Hey, Matt, how do you think the Pirates fans got through the baseball season before they could watch Bucco Banter?
I don't know, Fred. No other program can provide the hard-hitting analysis, critical commentary, and goofy quirks that Bucco Banter can, all while showcasing our passion for the Pirates.
Let's just hope we can continue to provide this powerful podcast through the pennant chase, playoffs, and the World Series.
Well said, Fred. Well said.
People, let me tell you about my best friend. He's a warm-hearted person who loved me till the end. People, let me tell you about my best friend. He's a one-boy, cuddly toy, my up, my down, my pride and joy. People, let me tell you about him. He's so much fun. Whether we're talking man to man or whether we're talking sun to sun, 'cause he's my best friend. Yeah, he's my best friend. La la, ba da 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 ya, ba da 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 ba, ba da 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 ya. Beep, bo, 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 rubba-dubba, beep, bo, bo, rubba-dubba, beep, bo, bo, bo.
Hello again, and welcome to Bucco Banter. I'm Matthew Peaslee.
And I'm Fred Rossano.
Well, Fred, we're back again for another episode, and just like always, there seems to be something new coming up with the Pirates, and now they seem to be on the upswing.
I think when last we left you guys, they had just lost the first game of the Cardinals series and went on to get swept that series.
Right.
And once again, everybody was said down, or that's it, they're done. And then they go to Chicago and wind up sweeping the Cubs, and they're in
Philadelphia.
two out of three so far with the Phillies.
Yeah, I think they've won 5 of their last 6, and just that one Phillies loss. And it's funny, like everything's coming together almost. And on offense, it's kind of funny. You see Josh Harrison get a hit, Andrew McCutchen get a hit, Russell Martin get a hit, and then you get Gregory Polanco back in lineup, and he's hitting. Andrew Lambeau comes up, and he's hitting. It's funny to see all these September call-ups making an impact like they are, kind of.
Well, no, if Polanco's actually hitting so far, but it's good to see him back up. But it goes to show you how long the season is, and it's just so many peaks and valleys. But people get so caught up in what's going on at one particular point. Like we said the last time, they wound up losing 3 straight to the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And then they bounced right back after everybody was saying, that's it, they're done, it's over. But the way we've been discussing, a lot of these teams all are in the same boat. The Braves, now the Brewers are right
slipping,
there.
Yeah.
The Cardinals have lost 2 in a row now. The Giants right now, they seem to be peaking with their pitching has really been coming on strong lately. But they got 6 more games against the Dodgers, I think. So
yeah.
You're only as good as, like they always say, they're only as good as your next day starting pitcher. And it's a fresh slate starting tonight again with A.J. Burnett going against
Francisco Liriano going against each other. And I think right now the Pirates are 76 and 69. If the playoffs started today, they'd be in at the wild card game going against the Giants. And the fact that the Pirates have been playing pretty well, these other teams are slipping down. The Brewers are playing their way out of contention. I mean, we have a game and a half lead on them, right? But it's up to the Pirates to hold that spot, and there's still 20-some games left that they could slip. They could lose 3 in a row, or they could win 5 in a row, and it's still going to be interesting to see this.
They're still only 3.5 behind the Cardinals.
Yeah,
I would much rather be 3.5 behind the Cardinals than the way they're stacking up against the Giants right now.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't want to play in San Francisco for that one game playoff, but we'll see what happens. Today's game is important. What does it mean tomorrow? No. If they win, it's great. If they lose, you just got to say, okay, now they got 16 games left. They can't let any more slip by. Like some people were saying the other day that they couldn't have lost that one. When they lost, was it 4-3 to the Phillies the Phillies the other day?
Even that Cardinal series, they were close games that we let slip away. And
two
they
were by 1 run. I think one was by 2 runs.
Yeah. And then they're wrapping the series up in Philadelphia, and they come home for the last 9 games of the homestand before going back on the road. I think they're facing the Cubs, Red Sox, and I think the Brewers again. So that's going to be a key series there against the Brewers. If they can hold them off. Yeah, with so few games left, everything matters. And the other, what did you think of Andrew McCutcheon's inside the park home run? It's hard to believe
flying.
That's like his first. That's his first inside the park home run, and it was fun to watch.
I think the ball was mostly misplayed by Ben Revere. There's no way he was going to catch that ball.
It was
so
way over his head, and it just took a big bounce the other way, and he wasn't catching that. But it was just fun to see Kutch fly, and he got out of the box kind of late too. He was just kind of watching it.
He was thinking it was either going to be gone or it was going to get caught, but I think they timed it as 15 seconds.
Yeah,
he was flying.
Yeah, and on his post game interview after the game, I guess he hasn't hit a grand slam ever in his career yet either. He said, "I'll go and try to do that tomorrow." Yeah.
Hopefully, he will. Well, Matt, you always bring us something exciting for Bucco Banter Show and Tell. What have you brought us today?
Well, let's see what pops up this time. It's Jack Wilson, a Jack in the Box. They gave this out at PNC Park probably 12 years ago, early 2000s. And, Jack Wilson was one of the most popular players of that era when they were struggling, but always a fan favorite. And this is just one of my favorite giveaways. It's not a bobblehead or a figurine, but a Jack in the Box. Yeah, how about that?
I can't remember. Did they trade him?
He was traded to the Mariners.
Yes, and then he retired after. He had. I think he was injured most of the time, but
he really didn't do anything.
He was a Pirate favorite for maybe 2-3 years. Or him and Freddie Sanchez were probably the 2 most popular players around in the second base.
He still comes around like for Pirate Fest sometimes. It'd be nice to see him come back as a hitting coach or a fielding coach, a special instructor at spring training, just because of what he meant. Even though he never took the Pirates to the playoffs.
Fielding wise, he would be a nice infield instructor.
He was fun. He was fun to watch in the field. He made some great plays. Surprised he didn't win a Gold Glove or anything because he was just always so solid at shortstop. But yeah, fun to watch him in the early 2000s and. Too bad we just couldn't win with him, but
yeah, I like that.
He's good.
How much you want for that? That's pretty nice.
Well, you can take me out to dinner, and we'll think about it.
Well, no, if I take you out to dinner, then it's mine.
No, yeah, we'll talk about it over dinner.
All right.
Okay.
Ask the experts. Ask the experts. Ask the experts. Ask the experts.
And Matt, it's time again for Ask the Experts.
Do we have our hat? Oh.
We have a hat. Unfortunately, we do not have the hat. Someone at work here was nice enough to make us this hat.
It's almost as good as the real thing, but it's not the real thing.
Not the real thing. And we've increased the price of the reward to $1.15 now. We've added an extra 15 cents. For the return of the hat. This is getting very distressful now, and we just don't. That was a very expensive hat.
We just ask people to call the hotline and get any information that they can about that.
Right at the bottom of your screen there. In the meantime, we will have the Pirate Panda once again.
He's been an excellent sidekick.
Yes, he has. Pirate Panda, are you ready? Yes, I am. Question number 1 for Matthew. Get my head out of here. Right.
Okay, let's see what we got.
Percentage-wise, what do you see as the Pirates' chances of making the playoffs?
As of right now, 95.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was by John K. of Martin
Okay, thanks, Mark. 95%. They're holding on to that wild card spot the way other teams are playing and the way the Pirates have been playing. I think that they're going to be consistent enough at the rest of the season to hold on to that wild card spot, whether it's the first wild card spot, the second wild card spot, or with the Cardinals losing, maybe taking the division. I think they're in. What do you think?
I'm not as optimistic. I'd say about 80%. Okay. I think a lot of their starting pitching is starting to really be a solid spot for them. They're at least getting until Vance Worley yesterday only went 5.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, they're getting a good, solid 6-7 innings out of their starters. When you can't beat that. That's all you can ask for any type of starting staff. You just don't want too many guys, coming out of the game early. But I would say maybe 80%.
Okay.
Not as confident as you are, but I think they're pretty solid, all the way around, hitting wise, pitching wise, right now. All right. Question number 2.
Thank you, Pirate Panda.
You are welcome. How important is a pitching coach and/or batting coach in turning around a player who has experienced tough times? Ray of Mingo.
That's an interesting question. I mean, the past 2-3 years, we've just heard rave reviews about Ray Searage and what he's done with the pitching staff through A.J. Burnett, Francisco Liriano, Edison Volquez, really turning around their careers. And I think you owe a lot of that to Ray Searage. So I think it is important for a pitching coach. For hitting coaches, this is kind of my issue with hitting coaches. Usually, maybe with the exception of, currently Mark McGwire is the hitting coach for the Dodgers, who obviously had a very good career at the plate, whether that was enhanced or not by steroids, whatever. But he was always a good hitter with the A's, with the Cardinals. But most of the hitting coaches in the major leagues are guys that were just run-of-the-mill, nothing special hitters.
I was just about to mention it.
Like who's the Pirates hitting coach? Jeff Branson. I know he played in the majors, but what did he do? I don't know. Most of these guys
played for the Reds for a while.
And
then
I think so. They're just journeymen and career 230 hitters, like nothing special. But it's. I don't know how much you can attribute to a hitting coach. Maybe more a pitching coach that can work on mechanics, and that's what you got to do with hitting too. But I think pitching, yes; hitting, no. That's my opinion.
I would agree with you, but I think overall, I think even the manager, in most cases, usually the managers are not, stars. Like how can you Ted Williams? How can he be a good man? These guys that everything comes so easily to them, I think a lot of times the guys that are the more or less the run-of-the-mill scrub type players, they're utility guys. They study the game more.
Sure.
It's like a kid in school that tries harder just to get the B's, whereas the kid that is a straight A student doesn't try as hard.
Yeah. They say that Clint Barmas is going to be a good manager someday, just the way that he studies the game and the way his nose for the game, even though it may not translate over to that skill-wise, but they say that Clint Barmas could be. And he's kind of those guys that 20 years from now, kids will say, Clint Barmas, what did he do in the majors? And he could be a successful manager.
There's something that I guess that how they present themselves. I think I may have mentioned this earlier. It was when Phil Garner was the manager, I think, of the Astros then, and Chuck Tanner was being honored at the All-Star game. Chuck Tanner, Phil Garner had told me, he said, when I was on the team, Chuck Tanner looked at me and said, someday you're going to be a good manager. Someday you're going to be a great coach, great manager. And he said the same thing. I said, how do you know that? He goes, I just know it. He said, there's just something, your presence in the dugout and on the field is going to make you a good coach or manager. And I remember him saying that, and he congratulated him. He said, and here I am today after,
he was successful with the Astros for a couple of years.
He was.
Your turn for questions. Excuse me, Panda.
Okay.
Fred, who is the Pirates' MVP for the season and the top pitcher? Sent in by Bongo from Toronto.
Bongo. Well, thank you, Bongo. Wow, this is a toughie. I would obviously have Josh Harrison, McCutchen, and Russell Martin as the position players. I would have to go. You're so used to seeing McCutchen do what he does day in, day out, but with the problems that Alvarez had and the problems they had for a time in the outfield through injuries and just lack of production, I don't see how you can pass up Josh Harrison. Even like second base when and even shortstop when I just goes on and on.
He's played everywhere but pitching and first base and catcher. He did pitch last year. Yeah.
They say that a lot of times that a guy can carry a team. He carried that team.
Yeah, seriously.
Day in, day out for probably what, 2 months?
Yeah. Which is funny because it took him forever in the beginning of the season to even crack the starting lineup, get a pinch hit appearance. He wasn't playing at all in the first week and a half of April.
No. He barely made the team. Remember, there was questions about, and I'll be honest, I never thought that he'd be an everyday player.
And he's leading the National League in batting right now with a .318 average. He might win the batting title, which is just insane. If you would have told us this in the summer or in the winter that Josh Harrison would be the best hitter in the National League, we'd say you're crazy. But it's really been an amazing turnaround for him.
I would say that he has to be considered the MVP. And people are not only talking about him on the Pirates, they're talking about him as the
MVP of
the National League. Yeah. But Russell Martin, I think, would be a close second, and McCutcheon are close to Martin there too, because you become used to seeing like we just talked about him hitting inside the park home run there. You become so used to seeing what he can do that it's not unfamiliar with what he does day in and day out.
How about the top pitcher?
Top pitcher? I might have to go with your guy from the beginning of the year, Edison Volquez.
He's been, I think, the most consistent. At least he hasn't really gotten hurt. He's had a couple ups and downs, but look at his
remember talking about Ray Searage again. Remember what happened with him as far as spring training? He was horrible. He had an run average in the 8s.
Right.
I think it was in the 8s or something. They were, this is a bust. This is terrible. They wasted $5 million on him.
And he's proven them wrong.
You can't help but think that Ray Searage had an impact on him.
Yep.
You can't help but think that. They said they just broke him down. They knew his velocity was still very good, and the way he was throwing was good. It's just that he had to realize he had to control certain things, like when he got behind batters and things like that. But I would say Volquez would be number one. Maybe Mark Melanson number 2.
Yeah, I mean he's not as strong as he was in the last year, I think, but he's still consistent.
Same with Watson too. He's been up until the last few weeks or so. Right. Has been really strong too as the lefty. But I'd say Volquez is number 1.
Let's go with our last question.
Here you go. There you go, Matt. Go ahead. Can you take it out of there?
Thank you, Panda.
You're welcome.
If the Pirates are playing in the one-game wild card game, who would you choose to start? Sent in by Terry of Steubenville. Very good question there, because that really was what it could come down to.
Well, now that I've said Edison Volquez, I'm going to go with Francisco Liriano. No. I think just because of what he's done last year in the game against the Reds. Again, if it turns out the way it is today, it would be heading out to San Francisco. And although this year he's pitched much better on the road than he has at home, which again, it's those stats that everybody's so worried about all the time that don't make any sense really when it comes down to it. Last year he was unbeatable at home. This year he's been average at home and unbeatable on the road for the most part. So I'd go with Liriano.
So the Pirates are we took 2 out of 3 against the Giants in San Francisco, and we won 2 out of 3 against the Giants at home. So the series record proves favorable to the Pirates, no matter who we throw out there.
Cross our fingers on that.
I'll go with Liriano too, because of the way he pitched against the Reds in last year's wild card game and shut them down. I think he can do that again this year if the time presents itself against the Giants.
But we're not going to worry about the Giants. Next, we're going to worry about winning division,
which is still in reach.
Very much so.
Tune in next time for Bucco Banter to see how this playoff picture is turning out.
We may not know a whole lot more than we do today, but we may know a little bit more tomorrow or next time on Bucco Banter. And now it is time for the popular feature of Bucco Banter called Bucco Banter Show and Tell.
Let's pause.
Hold. All right.
It's an imposter. From the top.
I don't even know what we talk about anymore. It just goes on and on.
It's like there's a 100. They play 162 games. We do 12 podcasts. It wears on us as the season winds down.
12 podcasts.